compliance in the nation's major motor parks and terminals in line with COVID-19 protocol. This is what we'll be interrogating tonight on this edition of Weekend File. Have a good evening and welcome to the program. The federal government gave permission for interstate movement outside of the curfew hours with effect from July 1st, 2020. This is part of government's plan to strike a balance between protecting people's livelihoods and their health. This measure led to the adoption of certain resolutions by the Federal Road Safety Corps and Road Transport Union. All interstate and intercity travels should be initiated from registered or organized operating terminals and motor parks to enable effective passenger screening, sanitizing, and dedicated queues, and that signage should also be used to distinguish passengers. According to the agreements reached, all vehicles are to turn off their air conditioners and have their windows open for proper ventilation, and that passengers are expected to report any public transport operator who fails to comply with any of these guidelines to the Federal Road Safety Corps. All these resolutions are in tandem with the PTF guidelines on COVID-19. Tonight, we'll be hosting the head of the Mass Transit National Union of Road Transport Workers, Suleiman Abdulkadir Musa. My name is Kirian Umayo, and this is Weekend File, the place where we dissect burning national issues of our time. But first, let's take the news. Muhammadu Buhari is urging Nigerians in the diaspora to actively participate in the country's post-COVID-19 economic recovery efforts. This was in a goodwill message to commemorate this year's National Diaspora Day. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
I congratulate Nigerians in diaspora.
This year's National Diaspora Day, with the theme Leveraging Diaspora Resources for National Development in the COVID-19 Era, was held by webinar due to the effects of the ravaging coronavirus pandemic, which created a new normal. Addressing the meeting anchored in Abuja by the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission, chaired by Abuja-Kaduna, President Buhari appealed to his compatriots not to abandon their fatherland in the wake of the global health challenge.
Over the past 3 years, Nigerians in the diaspora have brought in over 25 billion United States dollars annually as home remittances to the Nigerian economy through official and non-official channels. This is about 6% of our annual GDP and upwards of 80% of our annual budget. It is therefore my sincere hope that even with the depressed economy under stress in the year 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigerians in the diaspora would rise up to the occasion of not abandoning their country of origin, Nigeria.
President Buhari used the forum to re-echo his three-point agenda for the Nigerians in diaspora, which he described as relevant and timely.
You are our ambassadors at large by your behavior and character in your host countries. Whatever legitimate endeavor you choose, you must excel and be the best. Do not forget home, Nigeria, by giving back and engaging in its development.
A Nigerian-Canadian professional basketball executive and president, basketball operations of Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, delivered a keynote address at the event, which also had in attendance the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Zubairu Dada. The chairman, chief executive officer of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abuja-Kaduna, said the focus of this year's celebration is in furtherance of the commission's mandate and accomplishments since creation. She said the activities so far executed, those ongoing, and the ones that are yet to take off are all definitive of the theme aimed at mobilizing Nigerians in the diaspora for nation building. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The COVID-19 pandemic is compelling global communities to adopt coping mechanisms in what is now referred to as the new normal. Consequently, the House of Representatives has updated its legislative agenda to reflect these realities. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the document was launched at a retreat in Abuja.
Tagged our contracts with the Nigerian people, the updated legislative agenda of the 9th House of Representatives is an action plan that will shape the face of legislative functions in keeping with the resolve of meeting the aspirations of citizens. The updated agenda sets out key priority areas which include human capital development, security, education, economy, agriculture for food security, and sustainable power supply. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says this event is for exchange of ideas and to enable lawmakers learn from resource persons the best of options in delivering mandates.
We have called this document a contract because that is what it is, a written account of what we owe the people and how we intend to meet our obligations within the shortest possible time. These documents represent our intention to be held accountable based on what we have really committed to achieving, and which I am confident we will realize to the glory of God.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, calls the retreat a recalibration forum to reposition the Green Chamber for more effective service delivery.
It will be appropriate at this point for me to urge you to draw from your collective wealth of experience and your constitutional powers to chart a course that will take Nigeria to a higher trajectory of development in a sustainable and enduring manner. The challenges are numerous, but the solutions lie in your hearts. And Nigerians look up to you for these solutions.
The relaunch featured paper presentations on a variety of topics that highlight the relevance of the legislative arm in the wake of the pandemic. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
It is said that some politicians chose to make themselves bidders at an auction of popularity. But for Senator Sadiq Suleiman Omar, there are dozens of competing political interests and issues to understand that he has put together in his book entitled How I Became a Senator in 30 Days. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu has that report.
Salient issues were brought for public analysis and debate in the 213 pages book reviewed by Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, Governor of Borno State.
It is the responsibility of the politician to explain and communicate the truth about what budget there is and what could reasonably be done with the funds for the benefit of the majority.
Shows the magnitude, the depth of trust these people have in him.
When you look at it within the macro context of Kwara State as it was then, you begin to appreciate the trauma politicians went through.
The chapters in the book are on values and liabilities of godfathers on elected politicians need to transform the Nigeria's political theories and ideologies to reality, as well as address bottlenecks surrounding content of political communication.
He's very highly diplomatic in managing us.
He's somebody that is very moderate in his approach to everything.
It's important to document this kind of extraordinary, occurrence, which show the magnanimity of my people, the unity of my people, to say this is where they want to go.
Becoming a senator in 30 days, speakers at the ceremony said has classified the political journey of the also Senator Sadiq Suleiman Omar, representing Kwara North, as focused and determined. It is also a welcome to the platform of leadership. In Abuja, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The second 2020 extraordinary session of the Ecowas Parliament has ended with adoption of referrals from Ecowas Commission on the fight against COVID-19, implementation of community levy, recognition of certificates, among others. Onengia Fineface has more details.
Closing activities for the 2020 second extraordinary session of the Ecowas Parliament commenced with a message of assurance of cooperation for regional development from the President of the Ecowas Commission.
And we have to recall the need to strengthen interinstitutional cooperation, mobilization of all our respective parliaments to be able to make the necessary support to member states. And the importance is the need to always have in mind the needs, aspirations of the populations, and drawing up activities so that we can achieve positive impact on the improvement of living conditions of our population.
Members at plenary debated recommendations from 3 joint committees on the harmonization of specifications on automobile fuel in Ecowas region, limits of gaseous and particles emissions, strategy for liquefied petroleum gas use, support for research, innovation, space science and technology. Speaker Sidi Mohamed Tunis commended ECOWAS COVID-19 champion President Muhammadu Buhari and parliamentarians for contributions towards the growth of the region despite limitations caused by the pandemic.
As we draw the curtains of the 2020 second extraordinary session, let me task you that our duty as community parliamentarians is not restricted to when we hold meetings or other activities. We remain community members of parliament wherever we find ourselves.
Plenary also received reports from the network of ECOWAS parliamentarians on gender equality and investments in agriculture. Members also resolved to intervene in the security and political tensions in some member states. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
Motorists are groaning under heavy traffic along the alternative routes on the first day of the partial closure of the third mainland bridge in Lagos. Dotun Oguyemi, who monitored the situation, reports that this was due to market activities and commercial bus operators who park indiscriminately along the routes.
Traffic situation throughout the day was hectic as motorists had to navigate unfamiliar terrains, having to ask for directions at almost every stop, despite widely circulated public information on the closure. Some motorists even had to resort to walking after spending hours in traffic.
I was coming from Yaba actually, so it was stuck. I actually stayed up to 15 minutes in the vehicle thinking that we could find a way to get out of the hold-up. But since we could not do anything about that, we decided to trek.
I think I will employ the government if they can be able to, employ more people on this ferry transportation.
As long as there's commitment, to project execution, and as long as there's excellence in managing, the traffic and understanding that it's about both the executors and the general public, then I think we're on track.
At most of the routes visited, security personnel and traffic managers were on hand to prevent breakdown of the law.
The challenges are expected, but you can see we've been here since morning trying to manage the traffic. We're on top of the game. We're going to have a lot of LASTMA and enforcement agents on the road just to make sure that people can move seamlessly from one point to the other. So, we're ready for the challenge. Today and tomorrow is very important to look at what we need to fix.
The situation has forced many motorists to wonder how they would cope come Monday, going by their experiences this weekend. In Lagos, Dotun Oguyemi, NTA News.
The Abuja-Kaduna rail station is scheduled to resume business on the 29th of July after over 4 months of a shutdown owing to COVID-19. Transportation Minister Rotimi Amaechi, who gave the indication at the inspection of new coaches for Abuja-Kaduna rail line, said mechanisms for an efficient and effective rail business with strict compliance to COVID-19 health advisory are already ensured. He also reconfirmed that the cost of fare en route Abuja-Kaduna rail line will increase as first class seat now will cost 6,000 naira, business class will be 5,000 naira, while economy class is 3,000 naira. Our correspondent Oluseyi Adabo gathered that before the shutdown in Nigeria's rail sector, the Abuja-Kaduna rail line is said to have been experiencing increase in passenger traffic, and the minister explains that it is of necessity for the increasing number of locomotives and coaches. Criminals are in for a tough time as the Minister of Defense Bashir Magashi says Nigerian armed forces will sustain the renewed onslaught in parts of the country. This was in a message to the passing out parade for officers cadets of the Direct Short Service Course 25-2020 in Abuja-Kaduna State. Correspondent Ismail Musa has the report.
Left, right, following the tune of the band and the rhythm of the parade. Marching in different formations, moving into the officer cadre of the Nigerian Army. This periodic ritual signifies the end of 6 months intensive military training at the Nigerian Army School of Infantry in Jaji for these new officers who are graduates in different fields, selected from serving and non-military personnel.
Your commissioning today is coming at a time when the Nigerian Army is engaged in various operations in response to a myriad of security challenges. These include counter-insurgency operations in the northeast and anti-banditry operation in the northwest, among others. Most of you will find yourself in various theaters in support of these operations. I am certain that your training has inculcated in you a high standard of discipline and professionalism, which you will be expected to show.
That people, all groups that we with, gave us positive response, and we are very optimistic that peace will eventually return to the APC chapter of Edo State.
The chairman of the Edo APC Reconciliation Committee was in Benin with 6 other members. In Benin, Udwakobong Achibong, NTA News.
The acronym Simple Agenda is the crux of manifesto adopted by the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate for the Edo elections, Pastor Ize Iyamu, to foster infrastructural development and ensure social and security welfare. Amala Owo had an interaction with him recently in Lagos and now reports.
Political gladiators are dotting the I's and crossing the T's ahead of the September 19th Edo State governorship elections. Pastor Ize Iyamu an opportunity to serve.
I want to thank our people for the support they have given me thus far. And I want to assure them that I will not change if I become governor. I will continue to practicalize what I've been preaching, which means we want a governor that is sincere, a governor that is accessible, a governor that will respect our people, a governor that will protect their interests, a governor that will create jobs, ensure that we have employment and empowerment, a governor that would secure our state and ensure that armed robbers, kidnappers do not have a field day in our state.
In the face of a novel coronavirus pandemic crippling economies across borders, Pastor Ize Iyamu promises transparency and effective management of meager resources to keep the state afloat. defeated two other aspirants in a landslide victory in the primary elections to emerge the Edo State governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in June. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
The People's Democratic Party in the state has flagged off its 2020 campaign for the governorship seat with a pledge to continue to encourage human development in the state. The PDP standard bearer and incumbent governor Godwin Obaseki made the pledge while addressing party supporters at Samuel Ogbomudea Stadium in Benin. Elizabeth Omokor reports.
The target is to initiate more measures that will engage Edo people to become self-reliant and encourage more development for good governance among members of the society. The standard bearer pledged to unveil a program that will make Edo State great again.
So the mega team which we have adopted will focus on how to improve governance. How do we use government to support our people?
The national chairman of the party appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari and the electoral umpire to ensure a free, fair and credible team on arrival in Benin, where at the palace of the Oba of Benin to seek his royal blessings.
The Benin throne is non-partisan. We pray all the time that Lord God Almighty and our ancestors please bring out again the governor, that will keep on leading the state, in a peaceful way.
This is the first meeting